Welcome to Guided Spirit Conversations. I'm your host, Marla Goldberg. This podcast has been created with you in mind to acquaint you with some of the most incredible metaphysicians and spiritual leaders from around the globe who have helped others change their lives. In this interactive hour, you will be offered insights and techniques to help you make a difference in your life. Don't forget to subscribe to the show in your favorite listening platform. And here we go, on to the show. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Dr. Marla Goldberg, and I'm so happy that you're here at Guided Spirit Conversations with myself and my guest. So I'm just going to get right to it because we have a lot to talk about. This is going to be a chock full podcast, and I don't want you to miss one single moment of my guest. So Dr. T holds a Doctor of Chiropractic degree and a Bachelor of Science degree in Human Biology. He is a certified clinical hypnotherapist and a certified massage therapist. He is the originator of the world's foremost remote healing training, TNT, Total Knowledge Technique, as well as the author of 10 online programs designed to transform the most common things that ails humans and animals. So welcome, Dr. T. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for having me. Good morning.
So where are you now?
I'm in Prescott, Arizona.
Okay, so it's that time of the year. Off the screen, we were talking, and Dr. T works in two places primarily, or he lives in two places. So this is one of them. So you've come up with TNT, the total. My brain just died. I'm so sorry. Total knowledge technique. I apologize for that. So what was the backstory? Like, how did you get to being open like this and creating this technique?
Well, it started about 20 years ago. It was kind of a joke. I was in a seminar with another gentleman, Greg Ross. He's a chiropractor out of Portland, Oregon. And we were studying something that was kind of hard to understand, and he was asking me about it. I was like, well, you just do this and you do that. And he said, well, how do you know that? I said, well, I don't know, just kind of a short way to shortcut it and make it easier. And he said, well, you should be teaching this stuff, and just come up with your own thing and teach it. And I said, well, I don't have enough. I don't have anything to teach. And he said, well, you're gonna have enough to teach soon. And what are you gonna call it? And so we kind of laughed. I said, well, I'm gonna call it TNT because it's gonna be dynamite. And so the name kind of just came up from a joke, but when I finally decided to teach, it's really an accumulation of everything that I've ever studied. Things started happening that allowed all that other knowledge to be put into this body of work and be proprietary.
So I know that we're going to talk about TNT because that's where we're at right now, and this is how I flow. So you use focused intention, angels' guidance, and quantum physics. How do they all blend with each other to create these healings, these miracles?
Well, intention, of course, is how everything is operated in the universe. Quantum mechanics shows us intention drives things. It drives all kinds of processes, and we all know that. That's not a far stretch, and the act of observation is not a far stretch. We know the double slit experiment, that when we look at something, it changes. That on a subatomic level, things change when they're observed. And so, using those concepts and other quantum concepts. It just took a leap to these omnipotent beings. Angels, I believe, are omnipotent energies that occur in other dimensions other than ours. Quantum mechanics says there's 11 to 15 dimensions depending on who you talk to. I think there's a lot more than that. But the idea, the concept is that these angels, can weave their way through these dimensions, and we have access to them. And everybody watching or listening to this has had an angelic experience. Everybody, whether, we will just, because we don't see them, we just chalk it up to coincidence. Oh, that was a great coincidence. Oh my gosh, I got lucky. There's no luck. Those are your guardian angels. Those are your guides. I believe those are one and the same thing, helping you, guiding you on your journey. And I think that with what I'm teaching, we have this access through, I believe it's our guides, our guardian angels, to consciousness, to help guide us with helping people. If we're helping people, we're serving, and so they will give us little nuggets of how to help what you're doing. It's my belief that what the angels that actually do the healing are these omnipotent beings in another dimension that we're calling forth. Anybody can call these angels forth. So it's not like I have the special access. I mean, if you told me 25 years ago I was working with angels, I would have fallen off my seat. So it's kind of very humbling, but also understandable. It all makes sense, and the knowledge that I've gained through all these other techniques and all this experience of trying to help people with all kinds of things. I've really been able to parse out what's real and what's not. So many things aren't even real, unfortunately, and so I really feel like we've got some real gems to pass on.
I think so too. So when you're working with these angels, you set the intention. Do you call in specific angels, or do you just say, "I need blah blah blah," and the appropriate angel? You trust the appropriate angel is just going to show up and participate the way you're needing them to participate.
Absolutely. The angels that we work with are the beach bum angels, not the beach boys. These are the beach bums. They're just out there on a beach somewhere hanging out. They got nothing better to do than to help us. That's what, people always ask that question. Are these archangels you're working with? No, I think they're kind of busy right now with what's going on in the world. And I'm sure that they probably take part in it, but that's part of what I teach in class. I really had to narrow down the focus. Because like if you're just asking for help from the whole angelic field and you're not really specific on what you're looking for, that energy I think gets diluted. That's why anybody can ask them, hey, I need help, angels, and sometimes they'll get help and sometimes they won't. I prefer to be pretty accurate and pretty successful, and so that's part of the technique. I had to narrow them down into two specific groups. And so we just use these two small groups. I think they work in groups. I'm not sure. You can't see them, but seeing, part of our motto is seeing is believing, and it's the results. So it's clinically is how we're pretty impressed with what these angels will do for us when we know what to ask them for. If you have a heart that's not beating right and you go, hey, help my heart, they don't know what you're talking about. They don't really have that, they don't have that ability to decipher in this dimension exactly what's going on with your heart. Is it an emotional issue? Is there an electrical charge that's missing? Is there a nutritional problem? Is there, physical problem, something else drawing energy from that? And so we've really taken all of those possibilities and put them into a easy to follow format. Anybody can just get out the roadmap and follow it and really be very successful with just about any dis-ease going on in the body.
And okay, and you say you do animals. Is it just domesticated animals, or
I wish. I wish you'd leave me alone. You see the owl behind me. I have an affinity for owls because it all started with a baby owl. I can remember 20 years ago. But yeah, no, so many times out in the wild, we'll have animals approach us and they it gets a little woo woo, but they come into your mind and you'll have a conversation with them and they need help and they'll show up. I mean, I've treated at least 10 owls in the middle of the daytime. I've had horses come up. I've had deer in the wild. I've seen hawks and bunnies and just different animals come forward and seek help. We had a whole herd of deer one time, probably 40 deer come out of the woods and walk up, and first they ran off, and then the giant buck came back and he came into my mind. It's like, hey, we're all sick. We all got this crazy mange, and the whole herd came back around. They walked probably 10 feet from us, and they all kind of turned, and we could see all the mange. They were all covered in mange, and we treated the whole herd. And I mean, I got goosebumps just thinking about this. That's been probably 6 or 7 years ago. But yeah, no, it's we're here to help, right? And so you just never know who is going to come out of the woodwork, or whether it's a human or an animal. Angels are always ready to help.
So, what was the first most miraculous experience that you had? Let's go. I'm going to go with a human first because you just shared a great story with the animals. But you're starting out. You've got this modality, and you're being of service. You're helping. You're a healer. Yet somebody comes in. Maybe they're skeptical. Maybe they're closed-minded. But something happened, and it's sort of you. It's still awe-inspiring for you as much as for the client.
Well, there's so many, so many of those examples now. Going back to the very first one, gosh, that's really hard. I had a guy who had bilateral ankle pain so bad he couldn't hardly walk. He kind of stumbled in. Could barely hop across the room and climbed onto the table, and I did my thing. And he got up and said, "This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen before. You're a quack. You want people to follow you around in a white coat and then a robe." And I'm not even, and I said, "Oh, well, that's not, I did what I do. And, that's not true." And he stomped out of my office and never heard from him again until the guy who sent him to me, I talked to him about 2 weeks later. And he said, "Yeah, he didn't go for surgery. He stopped everything. He's 100% fixed. And he can't believe it, but he's too embarrassed to call me."
You know what I loved? You said he stomped
kind of,
out of your office. He couldn't walk in your office, but he stomped out of your office.
He stomped out, but he was still in pain. I mean, I won't say that it disappeared on the spot 100%, but within a week, apparently it all went away. And you'll have that sometimes if something's been around a long time. I mean, he was early 50s. This is 20 years ago. And he was scheduled for fusion, bilateral ankle fusion. So that was going to pretty much end his activity in his life. And he was a location scout. This was in Los Angeles at the time. But there's so many. I have so many examples of early on things that I was just like, and that was really early on. I was like, okay, what just happened there? Because I had never seen the technique do that. The stuff I was doing at the time, I'd never seen anything like that. And I could tell I was done with him. He heated up, both ankles heated up like a light bulb. And, I felt like it was going to be successful, but he was just so mad. I just got, those are the ones you remember. We've seen grapefruit tumors disappear. We've seen fibroids, volleyball size fibroids disappear. We've seen bones regrow. I've seen stuff that cranial nerves regrowing. So many things, detached retinas reattaching, vision. I mean, so many, crazy things. Tumors in the lungs disappear. I have all kinds of stories like that, but I've never been a testimonial person or keeping track of each thing that's a miracle. We have them every week. We have them just about every day. There's new people. I'm always like, oh, thank God I got a bunch of new people this week, because it's nice to have those and see people jumping around who hadn't been able to for years, many times.
Well, it's a miracle, and that's what you're providing, a healing miracle to people. And for people who go, "Oh my God, it's a miracle," don't use that term loosely. In the regular world, we have micro miracles all the time. Before we came on, I was telling you about my broken hip. And so I coined the term micro miracles because every day I have a micro miracle. I can do something today that I wasn't able to do yesterday, or I would find later in the day that something, and we're miraculous beings. So you are able to perform miracles, and everybody is, I believe, to some point.
Yeah, well, again, this, seeing is believing. The class TNT. I've always, I've done so many classes where people will get worked on by the instructor and be okay. All right, well, we'll find out tomorrow how that's feeling, or we'll find out in a couple of days. We'll see how, call us, let us know how you're doing. And I'm kind of not interested. I mean, we have that because not everyone is at that stage where they're ready to accept or receive a miracle. I mean, it's there is a leap. There is a certain leap there that's required for some people. Others just come in blind and have one. So you just never kind of know what, some people struggling with something long term, you need to see them for a while. But in the class, I like having people seeing miracles within the first hour. And this last course we had, I had everyone write down their top complaint. 20, 25 people. Write down their top complaint on a piece of paper and pass it forward. No names on them. I mixed them all up on a table, and I passed on the angel access is what I call it. And we had 80% of those people whose name was not on the piece of paper got better.
That's pretty phenomenal, without question. It's pretty phenomenal. So when you have a client, you'd mentioned something, and I want to bring this up. People's mental states when they come to see you. Now, I believe personally that when I do work on people, if somebody's got a closed mind, it's pretty much like a cement wall, and going through it is going to be challenging, not insurmountable, but challenging. When people come to you, do you find that they're able to have the shift maybe sooner if they're open and ready, surrendering and open to receive, more so than somebody who's a skeptic or who somebody was pushed into going, but they didn't believe in it?
Well, everybody's just so different. We had the last class at Omega, we had a woman they had to drag in. She had a hip replacement. She had it was horrible. She had her jaw broken. I mean, I don't remember all the injuries she had. She got attacked and mugged in New York and literally broke her. Yeah, it was a horrible story. And so they had to drag her in there. And she was like, I don't want to see that. I just can't make it. And she came in and she could hardly walk. And we just did, I did the very first thing that we do when we see somebody using this technique. And she was jumping up and down within 5 minutes. And she didn't want to see it at all. She had so you don't have to have that much, be that open. Angels kind of decide if somebody should get it or not. In my practice, 99% of my work is remote. So I'm in France and I'm in Japan, I'm in Morocco, I'm all over the world every day. And these people, some people don't even speak English that come on. And it's all word of mouth. So they're brought to me, they're told, hey, you should just call this guy, just give it a chance and call this guy and see what happens. And usually they're told by somebody who's trusted. And so there is that openness there, but built within the technique is all the reasons why people don't get better and why people can't have a hard time getting started with. So within the technique, there's like the first group of angels that get you ready, and they do a whole bunch of stuff. That's what we're going to use on you to fix your hip, because I already did some checking on you last night when I saw your video. And then the second group does a whole different batch of things that is, I call this is where the magic happens, because they come in and they do things that just are, when you have the knowledge of like, oh, well, this nerve does this much stuff, you can use that group of angels to look at and correct that much stuff without a laser light, without tools, without even touching anything. They don't even need to be in another country, anywhere on the planet. So it's kind of interesting who gets better and who doesn't. Rarely do people not get better who somehow get my phone number or find their way into my office.
Interesting. What about people who are really harmed emotionally, mentally?
This is such a powerful thing. We spend so much time on emotion in the class. It's probably one of the biggest portions of the class, and we're making some discoveries here in the last a few months that are really pretty mind-blowing, especially around emotion. This next class we have coming up in October in Los Angeles, I'm going to be debuting it to people, and it really eliminates any spoken word. And the results have just been phenomenal. I'm seeing absolute miracles. People going from being on their deathbed with the COVID or this new variant, whatever, getting up and saying, it's gone. Urinary tract infections disappearing, migraines, all kinds of stuff, just atrial fib disappearing with no spoken word. And this is looking at the possibility that there are things inside of our bodies driving some of these processes without us being aware of it at all. There's no test for these sorts of things. A quick example is, there's a parasite out there that gets on a rat, and it gets on the rat and it gets into the rat's blood, and it secretes chemicals inside the rat's blood that go to the brain of the rat and make the rat think that its best friend is a cat. And so the rat walks right up to the cat eats it, and that's where the destination for that host was originally meant to be. It was inside the cat. And so, we are aware that cats, a lot of people's pets can be transmitters, can be hosts for these things, but that's the level we're talking about. Absolute mind, that's mind control. That's a form of mind control happening in nature. Why wouldn't that happen to some degree in humans? In some cases, we've seen a lot of severely emotional behavioral things disappear in one session, many times. Lifelong depression, OCD, schizophrenia. So I mean, I don't like to name conditions because that opens up a whole notebook of things. But there's a lot of people with low level of depression that come in and out. I think they call it manic depression, where they're in and then they're out, and they're in and then they're out. What the heck is going on there? Well, I think that we have we've come up with some answers for some of that, and we're seeing results. I mean, I'm still blown away every time this happens. Crazy nightmares. Why would the brain produce those kinds of chemicals? And so I think we're on the cutting edge of a lot of stuff clinically that no one's even considered.
It really is fascinating. So let's talk a little bit about your class, and then I want to talk about your 10 programs that you have on your website that you've created. So your classes, how long do they take? Where do you do them? How do you find your locations so that people want one in a certain place?
We kind of get called to where we go. This next one is in Los Angeles. It's in October. It's 2 days, and it's a different format. It's really cut down. It used to be 3 days at Omega Institute. We'll be there next summer, and that's 5 days. So it's kind of a different program. There's not as much time, but this one in Los Angeles, I think, is the model for the future. It's 2 days. It's a lot shorter. And I've really taken I've taken everything that I think it's the seminar of the best. It's the best from TNT packed into 2 days. And we've really expanded on what I just talked about, this emotional affect and some of this other clinical physical stuff. We're really going to stay focused, really narrowed it down. The problem with what I was teaching, it was just too much. It was just too much information. People would leave and they'd call me in a couple months, be like, "Oh God, I don't even remember that. You don't remember that? That's a key part of getting somebody ready for the work." And so we've cut it down. We've made it really short. We like cities where it's easy to fly in and out of. And Los Angeles in October is going to be the next one. And it won't happen again until next summer at Omega, because I'm going to be out of the country. And I'm finishing some other projects I'm working on. I need time to get all that stuff done. So that's kind of what's happening. We are doing a call. I do a promotional call. We've done some promotional calls for the class, and these are fun. If you have time, get on one. You can just go to the website, ahumanengineer.com, and sign up for the email, and you'll see we're doing one this coming Saturday in honor of my mother. My mom turns 90. I'm going to be in Illinois to celebrate that with her. And so, and I've had tremendous results with her over the last few years. And but what we do is we promote the call, we promote the class for about a minute, and then we show the work. And I don't remember a call where we haven't had a miracle on. And so you get to see it before you even consider attending. So that's really cool. The programs that we've developed, we don't promote those as much right now, just because these classes seem to take up most of my time. But the one that we have on the website is Crazy Unknown Shift. That's where I have a group of people, and it's a group healing. Then we go into individuals. But we do this on the promotional calls. I do a lot of group sessions, and they are absolutely unbelievable. We have a lot of graduates who come on to just to learn and to see and just to stay up to date. And I'll have them help also. But we've seen so many unbelievable things on these promotional calls. It really is fun. It's fun to watch people get better, right? It's fun to feel better, and It's fun to have the chronic neck pain disappear. We had a woman with bilateral knee arthritis, is what they were calling it, to the point she couldn't walk up or downstairs. We fixed it on a promotional call. She did a 25-mile hike the next day. We had a woman who had a house that wouldn't sell for almost 3 years. And she said, well, if somehow my house sells, I'm coming to your class. Well, she came to the class, the next one we had. That was over a year ago. So we're doing some really cool, fun things to see. And so I hope if anyone is watching this gets a chance, please come on and check it out.
So I know that we were talking a little bit about this before we got on. Certification, like you were saying, that you can learn this quickly and you can start working it quickly. Do they need to be certified as anything? Is there like, you've done the one class, now you have to come back for level 2, level 3, level 4?
No, we don't have that. We just have this one thing. And this one thing is really all you need to really kind of get going with what we're doing. I am putting together, that's one of the things I'm doing this winter is putting together a master class for next fall. And that's more of a hands-on. That's like the tricks of the hands-on stuff, a lot of the hands-on stuff, some energetic, some advanced energetic stuff, but not a whole lot. Like what I show you on these promotional calls, that's what you learn in my class. I mean, I'm teaching you enough stuff, and no, I don't have any certification. You start with a neighbor, and your practice grows. No one's ever asked me, what kind of license do you have? What are you? And I'm a human engineer, so I don't even identify with being a chiropractor. Because it's all remote. So I practice under my hypnosis certificate, and if somebody comes into my office, then if someone sees me here, which is only a handful, I'm a chiropractor. But otherwise, I'm just somebody who's out there who has access to angels, and I like it that way. It removes a lot of the other liability and a lot of the other, you don't need to explain anything when you have angels at your fingertips. I think the testimonials that we have are really good on the website. My favorite one is Greg Ross. He's on there. He's a 45-year chiropractor. He came out here a year ago, and I think we had 10, 15 miracles, like absolute miracles in class that you just can't deny.
No, you can. I mean, seeing is believing, right?
Yeah.
And for everybody who comes from Missouri, like, show me. It's a show me state. Show me, because they want to believe it. They don't believe it otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how did you get the name Human Engineer? Who coined that?
That was a guy named Benha, who's out there somewhere. Maybe he'll be seeing this. I don't know where he is in the world. Yeah, that was 25 years. I just started doing all this stuff. I was doing a lot of past life regression back then, a lot of the hypnosis. I was just getting in to practice, and I used a number of different things back then. And I knocked him. He basically was knocked out for the session, and then I finished. I had to wake him up, and he sits up and he says, "Well, you're not a chiropractor. You're a human engineer." And I was, "Oh, a human engineer. I like that," because I had already had probably 15 modalities under my belt by then. And so I wrote that down and got that name and website and things and protected it the best you can these days. But yeah, a lot of people say, "Well, you call yourself a human engineer." Well, that was given to me by Benha, and it's just stuck. I like it. It's a great moniker because it tells I have a lot of, just have access to a lot of things. We're all so different and individual. Nothing works for everybody.
Right.
Fish oil is not good for everybody. Nothing is good for everyone. So we need all these modalities and these different things. And that's one thing that the angels bring is they bring within the body of work, they bring a lot of different things that they do because we've brought that knowledge in. And of course, I mean, I have a number of things that are proprietary shown to me by these angels, but everything is within the universe. So nothing, there are very few things are completely proprietary. We're all trying to help people. So there's going to be some commonalities, but we have some things that are shown to me by angels or God or who knows. I think it's the source with some of these things. Because how they're shown to me is just impossible.
It's. I'm sitting here listening, mesmerized, and thinking about, like what you're sharing. Let's go into what are the most common problems that people come to you with for animals and humans.
Usually strange things. Usually things that nobody else can fix. Let's see, I treated a lot of people yesterday. I had a woman on yesterday who had sleepless arms and legs at different moments in time. So, one night, one arm will be, running all over the place. The next night, both legs would be bouncing around, and the next night, one finger would be bouncing around. And so you just never know what you're going to get. That was yesterday. I was a new client. And so this is the kind of things, we ask certain questions, we have inquiry, and I don't know if she got better or not. I won't know for another week or so. This is one of those things where you won't know, but I'm pretty sure we fixed it. And I believe it was some kind of parasite passed on to her at birth from her father. That parasite traveled in his sperm into the egg, and that she was born with it. That's what I think has happened. Now I won't know until we check in with her, but I feel pretty confident that that's what happened. And most people, everyone talks about parasites these days. Oh, they're killing, they're terrible, and they're not nearly as common as people want to say it. And again, here we are I'm saying not everybody has them, and they're not a problem for everyone. They're a problem if we have certain behaviors and have certain symptomology, but otherwise you can never get rid of all the parasites in the human body. That's impossible. We have them. It's just how it is. We're a microorganism on a giant microorganism. There's more microbes in our body than there are human cells. And you say that to most people, it's hard to wrap your mind around. But that's what we're looking at with this work.
It's interesting because when you said that about the father's sperm going into her, I'm curious did she mention anything? Did her father have restless limb syndrome?
Yeah, and I asked her. I had already found that, and she was a new client, so kind of like you, I checked into her. Before I started, I cheated a little bit. Well, you want to
informed.
Yeah. Well, you want to read through all the stuff, and I teach this stuff. We aren't doing muscle testing. We're not swinging a pendulum, which I like all of that stuff. I like anything that helps us gain information. But I do teach a method of testing that, I can test your cat right now to see what's going on. I can tell your neighbor's friend, your sister's brother. Do I need to have his hair and have a picture of him in order to work on him? Absolutely not. You've told me who it is, that energy, the angels, that knows right where to go to ask a question about that person. So, that's how I just tested really quick. And I looked and I was like, wow, this looks like this. And then I asked her, and she said, yeah, how'd you know? He suffered with the same thing his entire life. And so then you can follow back generationally and find out how many generations back it goes. And will they ever find that parasite? If I'm correct, ever find that on a parasite test, stool test? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. These are untestable, microscopic. No one will ever, there's just no test for something like that.
It's really fascinating. And my mind is just going like crazy as you're talking, thinking about, how there are so many things that we have no idea what they are that we ingest, that we get through other, like mosquitoes, or even if a bee stings you, what do they actually put in you when they sting you? Something I've never heard questioned before.
Yeah, well, they put a bunch of stuff in you, and a lot of that stuff goes in and lives inside of you. And yeah, we're being inundated these days. This is why these angels have come forth. Why I don't, I kind of joke about it. Well, why me? But I've always been really very curious. I've always taken stuff apart and sometimes can't put it back together. And but you are correct. And what's happening, I think, is between all the electromagnetics that we've had in the last 20 years. I mean, you think about it, 20 years ago when I first went to, this foreign country, you could barely get a phone call out. Now everybody has them, everybody all the time, 24/7. So this is starting to have its effect not only on us, but also nature, also insects. And there's a lot of new materials being brought into our world today that weren't here 10 years ago, 5 years ago. People have changed. My father was a chiropractor, and I saw people come in who couldn't walk, and standard chiropractic, adjusting, and they'd get up and walk out and be fine, and never see him again. And I mean, I remember seeing my father having lots of miracles. And of course, to this day, I think it was my mom talking to people on the way out because she was so kind and compassionate for people. I think so much of it was her looking back, just because having that loving intention and compassion, that signal goes through and changes things. And so, and then my point though is like, if I was doing the same thing he was doing, and the people were coming in with what I see, they aren't going to get better with that. We need to have these more advanced things that are evolving with humans.
So, I don't know why I keep hearing light touch chiropractic. So you don't do some sort of light touch inside your method
No,
that you're
you
aware of?
can't. People in Morocco, I can't touch them, so I don't do it. When I see people live, I tend to do a lot of light touch stuff. But I'm also a massage therapist. I also love, working on muscles deep in the body and things that other people don't look at. I do a lot of cranial stuff live, and all these things these are becoming lost arts, unfortunately. So
Yes.
those are the things that are going to be in the master class. It's going to be more hands-on stuff. I'm adjusting tongues, and noses, and throats, and things that, most, unfortunately, people, it's just a lot. These are lost arts. A lot of this stuff is becoming lost arts. I have piles of books that stuff is all lost knowledge. And these mentors who I've had years ago, they're unfortunately, they're leaving the planet. And a lot of that work is getting lost. And so I have a lot of that to pass on, and I'm planning on this angel stuff though. This is all new. When they decided that I was going to teach it, they started showing me things. I'm still stunned. I'm still in awe. I mean, I wake up every day in gratitude and awe. It's a real blessing to be able to have a means of passing this on.
That's phenomenal. How do you help the individuals understand and embrace the concept of long-term sustainable health and wealth? There's so many modalities where people leave the table or leave your presence and they go, God, I feel great, blah, 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 blah. And then let's say they just think about what was bothering them and they sort of go right back to where they were because of their focus on whatever that ailment is. How does
Yeah,
it
well,
work
we,
for
we
you?
try to change. We try to change that. I mean, we try to change those a lot of times that's thought patterns. There's other organic reasons that people will fall back into those states. I like my practices is a lot of people on rotation. See them every month, every 3 weeks, every 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. And that's always been my goal, is to keep people out of my practice. I know that sounds a little strange, but I want people to be able to be out living their lives and being happy and joyful, bringing joy into the planet, and being joyful. And those things I'm talking about, we've created methods of really dissolving a lot of those self-deprecating thoughts. We do a lot of manifestational work, not only with the usual abundance stuff, but also health. We have some tools on the website. If you go to the website, you just plug your email in and you get Relax to Heal. But uh, everything in life is easier when you are relaxed, right? Everything is easier when you don't have stress. And
Yes.
so I really try to use all these extra tools that we have available through all of my modalities to help people take care of themselves. So yeah, we do a lot of, I do a lot of that in the training. I mean, I think my manual is, I think the class is not only how to help people and help yourself, but also to experience life. It's a life course. And I think it's a really good life course. I've done all these classes and courses, and I've walked out of classes that, very expensive classes before noon the first day, because I could see right through it and see that these aren't going to create miracles. These create bank accounts, and nothing wrong with bank accounts. I love money just as much as
The
Warren Buffett.
next person, yeah.
But that doesn't get me out of bed in the morning. So
So then how do you break the patterns of subconscious sabotage?
that's what angels do. This is a subconscious technique. This is a very subconscious technique for certain parts of it, and then other parts of it are very conscious level. But yeah, it's 50-50. It's probably 70-50 or 70-30. It's mostly a subconscious technique, and we teach it as a subconscious technique. And angels know better and know about our subconscious than a man. They know once you have definitions of what's going on in there, and that's what I think the key is having concrete definition of how these things get created. You fell down and broke your hip. How many subconscious thoughts were plugged into that when that happened? All kinds of stuff. Well, and then I told you I cheat. I cheat when it comes
Yeah.
to health, and I already looked and I saw what the causative factors are, and so
Oh,
you
no,
still
I'm
have that.
really,
So you still have that. You haven't fixed that yet. No one's fixed that for you. So when we fix
uh-oh.
that, you're going to walk around probably without any pain, and then we're going to go deeper and make sure that you don't have any more pain and you get rid of that cane. I love throwing canes out the door. That's what we should be doing. More of that.
Yeah.
Walkers,
So
canes, all of that stuff.
I agree, even though mine are very beautiful because they're all bedazzled. But if I had to use a cane, I had to make sure it was up to my like standard. So
Yeah.
that's how I got it. But we need to take a pause. It's charity shout out time. And can you see me because you're looking a little frozen? You okay?
Yeah.
On your end? Okay. So you do want to use for your not-for-profit Omega Institute. I've been to Omega. You've taught at Omega. Why help Omega? What makes them different?
Well, there's this concept that we teach in classes about morphic fields, and it's such a powerful morphic field. So many joy bringers of the light have taught there, have practiced there. So many people have gotten help there. It's you. And I walked in there with goosebumps, and it felt like I had a whole giant crowd of angels walking behind me, and they're not just the ones I'm used to that tend to
Right.
follow me around, and so. I just think their mission and what they're bringing to the planet, I think is crucial at this moment in time. And they're open to everything that you do, everything that you promote. They have amazing courses and classes. And if there's any way I can help them and anyone listening to this can help them, I want to encourage people to help them, donate and keep that campus open and growing. It's a world-class organization. I know you talked about, when you went, I don't know when you went, but, needing fans and, just like those little, wasn't quite up to date. They're up to date. I mean, it's up to date now.
Nice.
It's fantastic, comfortable. The staff is amazing. The courses are fantastic. We had people bleeding into our class from other classes, and they were like, oh, hey, I would rather take this. They allow all kinds of flexibility, and I just can't say enough good stuff about them.
Well, I need to read some of these things to you that have come up on the chat. Spiritual Messages by Jacqueline. Beautiful work and healing. Love it. Best Healing Temple. Dr. T's amazing, and his workshops are life-changing. Teresa Wiley. Can you share a story about a time when you healed yourself? She also asks, can you share a time when you led with a conscientious thought that initially blocked a conscientious thought? And the last one is I'm sorry, is can you think of a time when you lead with it's the same, with a blocked subconscious thought?
Well, certainly, absolutely. And can we shut Teresa off? No, I'm joking.
Teresa, thank you
Teresa,
for
knock it
watching.
off.
Thank you for contributing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a subconscious thought, you get yelled at when you're a child, right? Money doesn't grow on trees. What are you thinking? And that creates a blip in your matrix, in your field. That's a subconscious, we calling them distortions. And there's many forms of this sort of thing, many forms of this blip. And this can happen before you remember. Most of us don't remember anything before the age of 7. And so that thought is in there. And so when it says, can I think of a time when I led a healing, conscious thought, which you may remember that, and it may create that subconscious thought. But guess what? Angels know how to do it way better than I do. So I call them forth and have them come in and fix it. There's all kinds of techniques out there that you use spoken word to do these things. We don't do any of that. We call in the omnipotent being to change this blip, this distortion, this error in your system using angels. And this is how this is kind of how I came onto this. All techniques have a description of a distortion, whether they have all kinds of names for them. I 30 names for them I can name. And I just started looking at them going, well, wait a minute, this one has 10 of these, this one has 3 of these, and this one that's where I started going, wait a minute. Angels know more about these distortions than any human. And so there's no need to put all these names and things on them when you just sit there and let them do their magic. And people in my class, everybody has a different method of feeling whether or not they're done. And you don't need to feel anything. You can just wait until you feel like they're done. But that's the beauty of the course, is you let the angels do that sort of thing. And so that's what I teach, and that's how we have amazing results. And you can do this on yourself. So you asked me to share a story when I've healed myself. I've got 1,000 of those, but probably the biggest one is a scaphoid bone in my hand that was not healing, and I used hypnosis for that. That was way back in the beginning. That was before any angels, before I did anything. I used hypnosis, and it completely healed this bone that they were getting ready to do major surgery on that hadn't healed in 4 months. So,
Wow.
and I have so many. I mean, headache. If you have a headache and back, I mean, there's so many things that I've treated myself for. I like, it's kind of unusual. It does seem to work better having someone else treat you for things. However, we're getting better at it, and I teach it more, and more ideas are coming in how you can treat yourself easier, and also your family members. That's another thing that most healers or people who are out there doing energetic work tend to say, well, yeah, it's hard to work on your wife. It's hard to work on your brother. We're cracking those codes.
Well, I think people say those things, healers say that because there's an emotional attachment to the outcome. So
And
it's
it's true. It is true. It is true. It can be more difficult, but I have tons of evidence now that we can fix anything on them. And that's also in the subconscious. So when we get rid of a lot of those distortions and using our imagination, we can imagination is real, as you know. I mean, you can
yes.
create something simply from imagination. And people will say, "What do you mean? What do you mean imagination?" Well, imagine you're walking through a lemon forest and pick a lemon and take a bite out of it. Now, I may need to take 30 seconds to talk you into that, but you're going to start salivating because the mind creates our reality. And so we can imagine that they're a stranger. And if we imagine hard enough, they are a stranger. And then our minds won't get in the way, and their minds won't get in the way, and angels will be allowed to do the work.
I like that. I like about it because it's something that I've never heard in all my years of doing this is to treat them like they're a stranger. And in some cases, they were a stranger at one time to you. Like
Yeah,
if you have a partner, I'm married, one time he was a stranger to me.
absolutely.
Now, not so much, but yeah, go back to that time. I like that. That's a great way of doing it.
Thank you.
So, um, tell me about your most favorite class that you created.
Oh, that's TNT, no question. That's the big one. I do have a book coming out. I believe it's going to happen first of the year. I had no idea how hard it was going to be to put this whole story down, but it looks like around the first of the year we're going to have it all done. That's going to come out. So that's been taking a lot of time, and a lot of the program work has been melded into a lot of that. But TNT that's my life's work right there. That's what I've been put on this planet to do, to teach this and to pass this on. I'm really excited to reconnected with a family member who's in the chiropractic field, and so and everyone who's coming, everybody who's been to the courses, they're most of them are called. Most of them are called there. We don't. My promotion is about 30 seconds. Esther talks about what I do more than I do. But most people who hear the call get the message and come to the class because it's a special thing. When I look at all of the courses that I've taken, I sure wish I would have found one like this because it would have saved me a lot of time and money and energy. Because especially for someone starting out new, this is an unbelievable platform to start out in. Because again, we're looking at things that are becoming more and more prevalent in our world, and things that there's no real explanation for. So many things now are happening in our society, within people. There's all kinds of new illnesses, all this heart stuff going on. I mean, we can talk for hours on all these new diseases. There's all kinds of mental issues, infertility issues, all these things, and I think that we have some answers that no one's aware of. These things, they're not when you hear what it is that I'm finding, you're like, okay, well, that makes sense. That does make sense. And it's just that it hasn't been put together like this before. So TNT is where it's at. That's where the big energy and the big information is. That's what really gets you moving and gets you into this. And once you have these angels, it's pretty life changing. I love seeing these messages from Beth and Jacqueline. They're both graduates, and I know that they're out there, and I know it changed their lives and helped them in fantastic ways, and probably their families.
Which is wonderful. Let's tell everybody the name of your book and where they're going to be able to find it.
It's not done.
Oh, it's not. Oh,
It's not
okay.
quite done. I don't know. Should I reveal the name and somebody steals it? No, I'm joking. It is in the final stages, and so I probably will just hold off until it's ready to be
So
released.
we'll have you back when you're ready to release your book,
Thank you.
and that way you can promote it. But it'll also be on your website, humanengineer.com, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So we've only got a couple minutes left. Dr. T, what have I not asked you about? What would you like to talk about?
Well, I think we should fix your hip. I didn't realize we've gone the whole hour. Weren't we supposed to take a break somewhere?
No.
Oh, okay. Everything about me is at my website, ahumanengineer.com, and everything that I teach in that class is what I do, like on these promotional calls. So anyone who's listening to this, if you have time this Saturday, this is probably the last promotional call for
What
the
time?
class. It's 11 my time. It's going to be in Chicago, so I think it's 9 on the East Coast and 10 on the West Coast. I think I'm really bad with times like that. Esther does all that work for me. But it's just it's fun. It's amazing. It'll open your eyes to things you kind of hard to wrap your mind around, because we get into it on there, and we'd love to have you on there and then take a look at this work. But let's get to your hip, because
okay, we're in Chicago. I'm leaving Chicago on Saturday.
Oh, I'm from a town west of Chicago called Stockton, Illinois, and my mother lives in Thompson. It's a little tiny town south of there, and so we're gonna go have a. I was like, well, come on, it's your 90th birthday. Let's have a little gathering. She's, oh no, we're not doing that till I turn 100. So that's my mom for you. She's pretty feisty still, and in really good shape. And so I'm very blessed and lucky, and so honored to be able to go home and hug her and tell her how much I love her for her 90th birthday. It's just a real blessing to still have her with us. And I know many people out there that don't have that luck. And so, you cherish those moments. So.
And the good news is it's fall here and it feels like it, which is.
Yeah. So I didn't realize you were in Chicago.
Well, I have two homes, but right now I'm in Chicago and I'm going back to my other place in North Carolina.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah,
fantastic.
I get back here about once a month.
Okay, so real quick for everyone, I jumped on a webinar last night to take a look at Marla and see what she was up to, and I was very impressed with everything you're doing. I think it's fantastic. But I got the shortest one and found out that she had slipped and broken her hip, and so that's still healing up, and it sounds like it's doing really well. But it does sound like you're still experiencing some pain as you move around.
Yes, well, for 2 months, I'm so grateful, because I've had so much work done on it by my colleagues, and techniques that I have, calling in my beings for healing. So, but it's at that tail end.
And was it the femur head that broke off? The femur broke?
It's not it broke right underneath the ball that's in the socket. So right, like, I don't know if you.
Yeah. And did they put a pin in there or a plate?
They put a rod and 2 pins.
Okay, a rod and 2 pins, and those are permanent, right?
Yeah.
And is it your right or left hip?
Left.
Okay, so I look at the pins first, because those are foreign objects, and I'm just gonna bring the angels in, have them do what they do, and any graduates on here know exactly what I'm doing, and so I'm just going to do that. And then what caused this is what I'm going to fix now. And when I say me, it's not me. I'm just holding space for these angels to come in and fix the cause, because when the cause isn't fixed, you might slip and break your other one if you aren't careful.
Oh, God, no, because I already broke my elbow.
We're not going to let that happen.
Oh, no.
Probably had you call me to be sure that wasn't going to happen for you. And this work is pretty fast. So let's have you stand up and move around and see what happened there.
Okay, standing. Okay.
How's it feel?
Well, I still have a little limp, but it's better.
How much better?
I didn't stand up beforehand to be able to compare.
That's okay. Just walk around, just a little bit walking. You have to walk. We always have people walk and move a little bit so that the nervous system can get awareness of it and start resetting itself. And also, there's just a little extra gunk in there, and that should continue
Oh,
better.
it's starting to feel better. The more I move around, the more it's feeling better.
Just walk just a little bit more, and I think we're going to have 100% here.
Well, I'm not limping.
Yeah, I'm actually finding there's a couple things. There was an energetic cause and then also an organic cause, and I'm finishing the organic cause now, and that should be gone about now.
Wow. This is very cool.
How much better is it?
Well, it's significantly better. I don't have a percentage on it, but when I stood up, it's like I've been having trouble with my groin muscles and my quads, and that's where the pain mostly is. It's not in the hip. It's
Okay,
just the way they did the surgery, the muscles,
sure.
and it's much better. I
Let
mean,
me
I
just do a
just,
little, let's do just a little bit more for those muscles. I just was focused on the bone, and we'll just do a little bit more for the muscle for you. And then didn't you break your elbow also?
I did. I
And
broke my right elbow.
is that still causing you trouble?
Not much. I think that using the cane, ironically enough, because they told here's what I have to say. Insurance companies, they say, oh, well, we can't do physical therapy on your elbow anymore because we have to work on your hip. You know, you're healing for the hip, which makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. But and so it's like, okay, fine. But using the cane has actually helped me be able to straighten my arm. So I'm like 99%.
Yeah, interesting because
That
they
way.
pulled me over there towards your arm for a second to just kind of fix any residual in there, and just move around just a little bit more, and that should take care of any residual muscle pain or any really should. I like to hear the word "gone." That's my favorite word, but
Yeah,
significant works as well. You know, for this fast of a treatment.
it is definitely significant. And I know I've got to do a quick goodbye. Um, so, Tony, you stay on for a minute, but I want to thank everybody because we're running. We got to wrap up. I'm running late. Thank you, for Tony, Dr. T, for being on the show, for working on my hip. I can't wait to talk to you on the other side to just hear a couple of things. I have a couple of questions, but love the idea of your classes and what you're doing, and it's very exciting. So I'm going to also invite everybody to go on Saturday. Where do they find the link to get on your call?
It's all on ahumanengineer.com, ahumanengineer.com. I think you sign up for an email and then you get a recording and then you get the link, I think. But a box will pop up if it's that put your email in. And don't worry, we don't. My newsletters are about one every 5 years. I don't bug you. Only if there's something happening that's free or of value.
Well, thank you so much. And your new book when it's done.
Thank you.
You'll be able to let everybody know about it. I want to thank Bridget for all you do. Right hand, left hand. So grateful for what you do for me, for our guests. What more can I say? Thank you. So great. I'm so grateful. I want to thank you, the listening audience, for being a part of the show. Thank you for those who took the time to write in questions for Dr. T. And thank you for taking the time to listen because this show is created for you, with you in mind. And I just am so grateful that you want to be a part of the show by listening to it. Yeah, no, I'm just going to wrap it up because we're way over time. But thank you, thank you, thank you. Check me out next week. My guest is Robert Althios. He's a spiritual coach, keynote speaker, founder of Sacred Wealth Collective, a holistic wellness organization dedicated to embedding truth and love as a foundational spiritual principles for an awakened humanity rising to its full potential. So please tune in next week and I'll see you then. Stay well. I'm sending you all love.